Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into the fascinating, science-backed truth behind why millions of people with ADHD struggle so much with procrastination. Now, this is the topic that carries a ton of stigma, but as we unpack the neurology today, you're going to see that this daily struggle has absolutely nothing to do with being lazy. Okay, think about this for a second. Have you ever had something incredibly important to do, but somehow you found yourself deep cleaning your entire room, maybe alphabetizing your spice rack, or just endlessly scrolling on your phone instead? Imagine desperately wanting to get your work done, knowing exactly how critical it is, but feeling like your brain is physically forcing you to do literally anything else, day after day. Well, that is the frustrating daily reality for so many individuals with ADHD. So we have to bust the absolute biggest myth about ADHD right out of the gate. From the outside, sure, procrastination looks like a lack of motivation, laziness, or just simply not caring. People will say, if they really cared, they'd just do it. But the internal reality is radically different. The person desperately wants to work. They care deeply, and honestly, they feel incredibly guilty about it. They aren't avoiding work out of malice. They are experiencing a profound neurological difficulty with just initiating the task. It's this massive gap between intention and action. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll cover the laziness myth, inside the ADHD brain, the deadline effect, strategies that actually work, and finally, breaking the cycle. All right, part 1, the laziness myth. We absolutely need to dismantle this pervasive idea that delaying tasks is some sort of moral flaw. The crucial point here is understanding a concept called task initiation. This is the neurological process of organizing information, ignoring all those tempting distractions around you, and activating your attention to take that very first step. People with ADHD are quite literally fighting a neurological roadblock at this exact step. Getting the engine to turn over, that is the hardest part of the entire journey. Which brings us to part 2. Inside the ADHD brain. To really understand the why behind all this, we have to talk about executive dysfunction. Think of your executive functions as the CEO of your brain. This CEO is responsible for planning, prioritizing, staying focused, and seeing things through to the finish line. Well, when that management system experiences a breakdown or just doesn't work efficiently, even the most basic daily chores, like doing the laundry, paying a single bill, or opening an email, can feel like trying to climb a mountain without any gear. While a lot of people still associate ADHD strictly with physical hyperactivity, there's actually a wide range of invisible cognitive processes that are impacted. We're talking about attention, planning, organization, working memory, emotional regulation, and impulse control. It's really not just an inability to sit still, it is a fundamental difference in how the brain actually manages daily life. And a massive piece of this puzzle, it comes down to dopamine. Research shows that dopamine signaling differences in ADHD brains mean that routine, mundane tasks simply do not provide enough immediate reward to engage the brain's attention center. Because of this difference in dopamine, the brain really struggles to lock on to boring tasks. On the flip side, activities that are exciting, novel, or highly urgent feel so much easier to start. So it isn't a lack of intelligence or willpower at all. It is a measurable, physical difference in how the brain responds to rewards. Moving on to part 3, the deadline effect. Now, you've likely witnessed or maybe experienced firsthand this sudden, panicked burst of productivity. Day 1 comes around and there's zero activity because there's a lack of dopamine. Day 2, still no activity, maybe some active task avoidance. Day 3, nothing but mounting terrible guilt. And then, 12 hours before the deadline, a sudden, spectacular spike in task completion. A looming deadline creates immense pressure, and that urgency acts as a massive motivational signal for the ADHD brain. It finally provides the stimulation needed to engage. But as you can guess, relying on this last-minute panic inevitably leads to severe stress, poor sleep, and eventually total burnout. Because procrastination isn't just an attention issue, it's a highly emotional one. The emotional toll is massive, driven pretty evenly by a fear of failure, perfectionism, anxiety, and just feeling completely overwhelmed. When a task feels emotionally uncomfortable due to those 4 factors, the brain naturally seeks the temporary relief of a distraction. It just wants an escape. But that escape reinforces the procrastination, creating this vicious, stressful cycle that is remarkably difficult to break out of on sheer willpower alone. So let's look at part 4, strategies that actually work. Instead of just telling someone to work harder or just do it, we actually need to change how they work, using evidence-based, brain-friendly systems.
The absolute best place to start is breaking large tasks down into incredibly tiny steps. If your goal is write my report, well, that's a massive, daunting mountain. But look at these steps. Step 1, just open the document. Step 2, write one single sentence. By breaking a goal down into tiny, almost ridiculous micro steps, you significantly reduce the mental resistance required to initiate the task. You basically trick your brain into starting, and once you get that engine to turn over, momentum usually takes care of the rest. Next up is the Pomodoro technique, which involves 25 minutes of focused work followed by a short break. Using timers like this creates a sense of artificial urgency, kind of mimicking that deadline effect, but without the 3 a.m. panic attack. It makes long, daunting tasks feel immediately manageable and bounded. You aren't working forever, you are literally just working until the timer goes off. And we certainly can't ignore these essential productivity tweaks. Putting your phone in another room, closing unnecessary browser tabs, creating a dedicated workspace, listening to instrumental music, tracking your progress, and heavily utilizing things like calendars, sticky notes, and alarms. Why do these work? Well, by reducing visual distractions, adding immediate rewards like some good music, and offloading your memory onto external reminders, you dramatically lower the cognitive load on your executive functions. You're essentially outsourcing your brain's CEO to your environment. Finally, part 5, breaking the cycle. Implementing these everyday strategies is a fantastic start, for sure, but understanding the holistic, big-picture approach is vital for long-term success. It is so important to know when to seek professional help. If procrastination is consistently impacting your daily life, your work, or your relationships, reaching out is key. Professional support can offer behavioral strategies, specialized coaching, therapy, medication management, or a tailored combination of these approaches. If this cycle disrupts your life, an evaluation by a healthcare professional can truly open the door to targeted treatments that allow people with ADHD to not just cope, but to truly thrive in a world that isn't always built for their brains. I want to leave you with this thought. Progress doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from taking the first small step. Understanding that ADHD brains process motivation and rewards differently helps us replace harsh judgment, especially self-judgment, with deep compassion. It reminds us that for someone fighting executive dysfunction, taking just one small step isn't just progress, it's a massive absolute victory. So, a final question for you. Have you ever struggled with procrastination, or perhaps found a totally unique strategy that helps your brain finally get started? I would love for you to share your experiences and your strategies in the comments below, and let's continue this journey of understanding together. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll catch you next time.